What's going on, Internet? I'm coming at you with round 3 of the SCL Div A playoffs, hosted by Big Game Hunters. I am Exile. I'm going to cast this one. We got, in the bottom corner of this map, Kyboi playing for Platinum Heroes, the yellow Zerg, and then also for Plat Heroes, so a bit of a team kill here, we got Patches, the red Terran. So, Mothership is the map. This is going to be a very interesting one. It's large, so sometimes it turns into a nice macro game, and sometimes we see Terran proxy a bunch of barracks in the center of the map. So, that doesn't seem to be what Patches is doing. Seems like a fairly standard opener. And then, same deal with Kyboi, no early pool, straight into the hatch first. Nice little stroke of good luck here for Kyboi. The first Overlord's actually headed in the direction that Patches happened to spawn. Remember, both these players that don't actually know where each other are, they could be in the top right corner as well. It's going to be a best of 5 today, as with all other series in the upper bracket of SCL playoffs. So you'll be stuck with me for a little while here. Looks like a Marine first out of Patches. And he's hiding it sort of right at the bottom of the ramp here. Nice little corner in case some lings run over. But let's see if Patches' master plan is to catch this Overlord. Kyboi sees the expansion from Patches and immediately turns around with the Overlord, throwing it back on the high ground. So for now it's safe. And we got 2 lings headed across the map. No ling speed started just yet. And 2 queens are out to inject. So more of a, I would say, a macro opener here from Kyboi, not going for any kind of early ling pressure. And I even think generally the 2 lings is a bit greedy, because a Reaper can get through him pretty quick, but it ended up being the right call this game with no Reaper. 3rd queen on the way. So Kyboi's prioritizing some crit spread here, which is going to be nice. No 3rd base yet. And straight into layer. Interesting. So this is probably why we skipped ling speed. We're getting an Evo as well. So we'll have to see what that turns into. Also hiding the Evo. Fairly interesting. Sometimes players will put it up here to help with the Hellion wall, but we're not seeing Hellions this game. There's the Roach Warren. So, skipping ling speed entirely. We're not going to go in any Zerglings. We're just going to go straight into Roach. Meanwhile, over in the Terran base, looks like we got a 2-1-1. Sort of an old school build. I like it. And what I also like about this build is the 2-1-1 is probably going to see those Roaches before they get across the map. So, it's important you realize what you're playing against here as Patches. And since these 2 are on the same team, maybe they already have an idea of what they like. This is interesting. It's almost like Patches is going to scout. Where's this Marine going? The top right. Maybe to check for hidden expand, or maybe Patches doesn't exactly know what spawn Kyboi got. There was some games, I think, in GSL where the Zerg decided to immediately expand to this. I guess just poking his head up as Patches, just to make sure there's no creep emitting from that base, and immediately we're turning around and going home. Medevacs are out at a healthy time. And we got exactly 16 Marines here, as intended. 2 full medevacs headed across the map. Pretty clean opener from Patches. I like the timing of that. Everything worked out as intended. Third CC behind this. And we're getting combat shields. Is Stim already done, or do we... Yeah, Stim is already complete, so... Let's see here. Patches now knows it's roaches. There's quite a bit of them. I think besides the scout, the Marines are going to have to try to look for maybe some tumors or some lone units, because I don't think you can move into all those roaches. Kyboi, super duper fast infestation pit. Probably for Infestor. Maybe he's channeling his inner Shin here and just going to go straight into Ultras from roaches. We'll have to see. 2 empty medevacs flying in is maybe a decoy for Patches. That's exactly what it is. The Marines are going to move in now, get some creep tumors for free with the roaches way out of position. Maybe even get a queen. So still finding some damage. Oh, leaves that active creep tumor with 3 health. That's unfortunate, but it's important to get out with all your units, and it looks like if Patches had waited any longer, he might have lost a medevac. So overall, still getting something done with this double medevac drop into like a huge chunk of roaches is, and you'll take anything you can get here as Patches. Third CC landing. I'm never quite sure with this base where the correct position is, but this looks one off. Right? Am I crazy, or did Patches misclick that? I don't know. I banned Mothership. This is a really bad map for Protoss, in my opinion. So I'm not actually sure. Oh, there we go. I was right. Look at that. It's good that Patches caught that, because if you go the entire game with that in the wrong position, that actually does make an impact. Seeing Kyboi clear some rocks so that there's a little bit less chokes in case we get some kind of tank push in the future, and that's kind of what it looks like Patches is targeting here. Microbial Shroud is the tech of choice from that infestation pit into a very quick hive, and now we're throwing in Zerglings and Link Speed. So +1 melee as well. I think I called it. I think this is Roach into Ultra. But the Microbial Shroud is a very cool tech of choice, and I think it's pretty underutilized. I barely get to see it, so I'm eager to see if it can swing some fights. Looks like we're having a split push here from Patches. We got the 2 medevac Marine drop in the top. That gets fungled and largely cleaned up, but then we have this sneaky little group on the bottom of the map. Now, what I don't like is Patches kind of hesitated there. He was obviously trying to micro up top. And so what Kyboi was able to do was basically clear this force and then get back over here before Patches could do anything with those tanks and bio. So I think so far Kyboi is holding well, especially considering no banelings, nothing that shoots up besides those queens to shoo away these medevacs, and still taking absolutely no damage from that move out. Now, as Patches, the sky isn't falling yet. You have your third base and a nice little supply block here. But, you're still on equal basis to the Zerg until this gets up. And so you didn't lose any of your tanks, which is kind of what you want to keep alive against this Roach stuff. But there it is. It's... What is this? Anabolic? I think that's the speed thing. It's cracklings. He's going cracklings, and... No, the Ultra Den is almost done. The Spire is an interesting choice as well. I wonder what that's going to turn into, right? Because Mutas here seems kind of weird, but maybe he's anticipating like a lib transition, and he can get some Corruptors or even some Corruptors to kill the medevacs during an A move. A little bit of a stim here for Patches to get by over to this corner. I missed what was going on there. And an attempted drop into the main. Time to get out of here, Patches. Uh-oh. Ooh, good fungal on the medevacs too. Loses one full one. Now the other one's going to try to scoot around and drop into an annoying place. This would actually be a fairly good spot, right? Because there's no... The Lings would kind of have to come fight you maybe 2 at a time. But here is our landing spot for the medevac at the third base. Shooing away the drones. Picking up and getting out of there. Nice little distraction by Patches. Especially trying to buy some time here for the 4th base to finish and get on location. Kyboi's still on a fairly low eco. Patches is actually ahead in workers, and then of course you got the mules effect, so Patches is mining quite a bit, but the thing is, this kind of comp is super difficult to play against as Terran. Usually you try to do some damage before Ultras come out, but, you know, Kyboi's kind of just glided into the late game here. Another drop. This one might actually get something done. The medevac goes down. And we put 2 drones on, 3 health. That's a little painful, but the libs did get in, killed some larvae here, and then got out. So that's nice. Now the Spire did end up being for some corruptors, not a lot. 5, a good way to put yourself into a tough spot as Zerg is to build too many of these guys. But 5, I think, is a pretty reasonable number. They're gonna slowly chip away at the Liberators, and we'll see how that pans out in the main fight. Something's gonna happen here as Kyboi's finally on Patch's side of the map. PF isn't done yet, so these Lings are having a buffet with the SCVs. The Infestors get a big fungal, but there's not really anything here just yet to capitalize on that. The Ultras are a little bit late to the party. And Patches somehow found a decent engagement here, mostly because, Kyboi was forced to go up the ramp. However, there's no bio left. And so Patches taps out. Kyboi takes game 1 on Mothership. And it just seemed like Patches had some good ideas that game, but nothing that he threw at Kyboi seemed to get anything done. There was a couple really biffed drops. There was a multi-prong that kind of got stalled out. And even though Patches kept the tanks alive, built into a pretty strong comp with a bunch of Liberators, it didn't really matter with Kyboi's army that he managed to construct. So I'd love to see a completely different style here from Patches. I think the 2 medevac drop did get something done, so it's not a bad opener. But after that, there was a pretty big lull in terms of the pressure that he was able to put on. So if Kyboi just wants to go into a super fast hive, I think you kind of need to get some kind of punishment in as Patches for that. I am recording it to send off to eventually get posted on BGH YouTube or somewhere. So this is the only stream. You found us. All right, game 2. Loading in once again. I wonder if I got team colors on. Do you think I got team colors on? No, I don't. All right, wonderful. So they ran it back, same colors. Yellow Zerg, Platinum Heroes, Kyboi, also known as Chef GG here. All right, and then we got from Platinum Heroes the Red Terran Patches. Early SCV heading out from Patches. 2 of them, in fact. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Now, these are so early, and a 3rd one coming too. I'm thinking this is going to be proxy racks for Marines. Good old mass Marine bunker rush here. I love this decision from Patches. I just said that, it felt like even though the opener got a little bit done, he kind of got outpaced there into the late game. And so we're going to force Kyboi to play a completely different game, reacting to this, I can't think of a more aggressive build from Terran. So a great shakeup here for Patches. Now, a big part of this hold is figuring out this kind of rush is happening. And I think with the Overlord pass here, obviously it's going to take this guy a little while to get to the main base ramp, which is for sure when you'd know something funky was going on. But it looks like this guy's also pushing out a little bit. He was in a spot to see Marines running towards him, but if he goes too far forward here, Kyboi might not know about this until there's Marines attacking his hatchery, which would be kind of bad there. So let's see what goes on. I believe this was hatch gas pool, so like a very economic opener here from Kyboi, which is going to make this defense fairly interesting. Now, one thing I will say with this is you're going to get your fast ling speed, and usually when you get that speed, it becomes a little easier to surround the Marines that are coming at you. So there's hope here for Kyboi. You just kind of need to hold on unless you skip ling speed. Let's see here. All right. Link speed starts, but we got a problem to deal with. Before that, anywhere before that's done. Yeah, Kyboi has no idea. He's Kyboi's sending a drone here to take a third base. And here is 5 Marines, 3 SCVs with the goal of killing this hatchery, containing Patches on or Kyboi on 1 base here. Losing drones, losing queens, never a good start. That being said, Kyboi does snipe 1 of the 3 SCVs. There's, of course, this guy who's been a little marked up, and then there's your full HP one that's getting this bunker done. Now, this bunker is a problem too, right? This finishes. This is going to be in range with the hatchery. Kyboi reacted with a spine that got killed. 2 queens go down. And the response here with the other 4 lings that squeaked out is to go across the map. And I like that, but you still got something to hold at home here, Kyboi. You got, okay, roaches are coming out. Now, this is going to get a little awkward. Either a bunch of drones are going to go down, or the hatchery is going to get pretty close to going down here. I think with this build, it's all about kind of snowballing your position, right? Surprising the Zerg and then getting enough Marines where nothing can kill them. And there's definitely a snowball effect going on here. Roaches are out, and they're pretty good at dealing with Marines, but there's only 3 of them. 2 already go down. Oh, man. No more drones left for Kyboi. Has to tap out. Patches ties this thing 1-1. And another aspect of that build is now, Kyboi is going to be thinking about that for the rest of this best of 5. So good build selection there by Patches. Gets a cheeky win. Two very different games so far. I am surprised, Kyboi doesn't have that response nailed down entirely. I hit Kyboi all the time on the NA ladder. There's no doubt in my mind that they've seen a proxy 3-racks 1 or 2 times this season. But great surprise factor by Patches. Good control, and sniping that initial queen off the natural and those first few drones there was pretty big. Yep, 1-1. Tied series. We'll load into White Rabbit for game 3. What are we going to see out of these players this game? In the bottom left, once again, your yellow Zerg from Plat Heroes is Kyboi. And then in your top right, you got a red Terran, also from Plat Heroes. It's Patches. I do have a feeling these two play each other a decent amount. Like in game 1, we saw Kyboi kind of blindly throwing down a Spire for Corruptors, and sure enough, Patch's response to the situation with Roaches was a bunch of Liberators. So I think that kind of evidenced that they're familiar with their styles. Maybe that's why the proxy racks caught Kyboi so much by surprise. Gonna be a pool first here from Kyboi. Now, it wasn't a 12 pool. It's a little bit later. Maybe a 14. And I wonder what the objective is for this pool. Maybe to get the Lings around and hit the CC once the Reaper leaves the base. 4 Lings so far in production, and a Roach Warren. So I have a feeling that this gas is going to go into some Ravengers, but we'll have to see. Patches back to the good old bread and butter. 1 racks expand off of 1 gas. Now with this kind of rush, you really need as Terran to finish this command center. Or just cancel it right away. Like either, like you need decisiveness. You can't just let it sit half finished if these Lings do manage to get this worker. Because the last thing you want is Lings and Roaches to run in here while this is still under construction, right? So Kyboi's master plan has worked here. 4 Lings get in. Well behind the Reaper. And they're going to kill the SCV that's building the command center and slowly work on this supply depot. Now, interestingly enough, 2 Reapers, 3 Reapers, 4 Reapers out of Patches. I missed this second Rax. And so this is going to turn into a pretty interesting scenario where you have Reapers against Roaches. Now, the other thing that I noticed was Patches, the original Reaper, Patches did not bring that back home. Instead, elected to send that in for some drone kills. And in doing that, Patches actually saw the Roaches. So Patches has a pretty good idea of what's going on here. And I think because of that, Patches just kind of holding down the unit button, hoping to get enough Roaches to deal with enough Reapers to deal with these Roaches. The thing is, though, Roaches trade pretty good against the Reapers, especially if you start using the Ravager morph to try to save your bruised ones, right? I would say like this opener is looking fairly good for Kyboi. Like Kyboi's not going to be able to get into the main and do anything crazy here, but what Kyboi is doing is really stalling out the mining on the natural, being really annoying here at the front. Might even get this supply depot, which would be pretty big. Oh, the supply drop to beef up that depot and return it back to full health. Also gives another 100 hit points. So all of us with that move, Patches secures 2 Roach kills, but did lose a couple workers there, right? And some Reapers. So something I spotted was Kyboi went right back into drones after those Roaches started moving across the map. So even Kyboi not really expecting that to end the game by any means, but probably happy with a little bit of damage. Because of how everything went down, Kyboi actually does have a bit of a worker lead as well, which is what you're really hoping for as Zerg. The third base is, later than usual, but I mean, I think relative to the mining on Patches natural, it's not going to be an issue. Reapers coming in here. Scouting lots of gas geysers. This does seem like a very large amount of gas to mine. I mean, not taking the one in the main, Patches isn't going to be aware of that. This would probably successfully fool me into thinking I'm playing against someone who's looking to go into Muta, but of course there's no layer at all. And we're only on 3 gas, so I actually like taking both in the natural here and leaving the main. I know that's pretty standard, but it's still a nice touch. Alright, we got Hellions moving across the map. We also had some Marines take out an Overlord, so that's nice. Now the problem with Hellions is they don't really do that great against Roaches, which, Kyboi's definitely investing into. I think this is another hit squad where, we don't necessarily expect to end the game, at least not with these, 4 units, but hoping to get another positive value trade. Patches sniff something is up, though. Already got 2 bunkers set up. Now, Ravengers can get pretty good at dealing with those if their numbers get high, but right now we only got 3. So if you're quick with the repair, the bunkers will live. Now, I said this might be a poke, and then Kyboi held down the Zergling key, so there's a ton of Lings, but I personally love this Banshee out of the starport here from Patches. That's going to really put a timer on things. All right, bunker 1 goes down. Oh, that was Biles. Mark a lot of workers. I think there's going to be enough DPS here to get the bunker killed. Looks like it. And now Roaches are fighting against SCVs, which is, you'll take that any day of the week. In stream the Lings, all you got to do is bring this depot down, and Lings are going to be in here too. Now, obviously, Patches has a battle cruiser building, and that's going to be pretty good, but it's a long ways away. Those things take forever to build, and in the meantime, 16 SCVs go down. The natural is forced to lift for Patches. Ling's even getting that gas, which is going to be annoying, and Kyboi says, I think that's enough. Going home, already got some roaches home as well, I believe. So, yeah, at least one. And so, Kyboi says, thank you very much. I'm doubling your worker count on 4 bases, and the spores are going up. Essentially, I don't know if Kyboi has sniffed out the BC yet, but at least the Banshee has kind of prompted Kyboi here to throw down a bunch of spores. So we'll be safe against 1 BC likely. But Patches is going for a second one and already has Yamato Cannon. Second starport also finishing. This is a cool build. I love BC builds. I'm so happy I get to cast this with you guys. Especially, you know, like Div A. You know, these players are like probably 5k MMR, around that mark. You don't see BCs that often. But in a best of series, I think it's a great call. Let's see. Now, Kyboi knows something's going on because there's a Spire about halfway done here. So I think a lot of this is going to depend on when and where Patches decides to warp these guys. Like if you were to do it right now into the natural, you could kill the Spire and probably win the game, but Patches doesn't know that. So into the main, Patches goes. There's no queen here. It left. And so the BCs are going to follow the workers down. Some Yamatos take out 2 of the queens. There's 3 left. And remember, that Spire is almost done. So really, Kyboi's just stalling here. But I will say, losing a lot during the stall. In comes the BCs. Targeting down the queen first. Oh, I would maybe start to run away there. Oh, lives with barely any health. 1 HP BC. Completely ridiculous. And the mules come in, 3 of them, to repair up their capital ship. Now, there are corruptors. There's 3 of them on the way here. 1 of them already pops. We got, looks like 5 total, 6 total, and there's enough here to take down both BCs. Big loss by Patches. Ideally, you'd love to keep those alive, right? And you even see some players, they'll warp in there, they'll do all that damage, and then they'll right-click them home, anticipating the corruptors. Now, I think Patches was hoping that they would take Kyboi by surprise here with the BCs, and to an extent, that happened, but the Spire was almost done. So now we're in a situation where Terran's trying to take their third, continuing to build BCs, and we got a 5-base Zerg here with saturation on the outer bases. So Kyboi up to 84 drones. This is probably right where you want to be. Usually we see that 80 to 90 count when you're going for something like Ling, Bane, Muta. But hey, if you're allowed to get up there, it doesn't really matter what comp you're going. It's going to really kickstart your economy. And we see it here, like, Kyboi has double the mining, so these trades are happening, but it really doesn't matter how efficiently Kyboi trades out. They're just going to be able to produce a whole lot more stuff. Lifting the orbitals is great, but there's a bunch of corruptors here built to deal with those BCs that are now actually working on these. Instead of using the BCs defensively, we're going to warp them across the map. Now, this sacrifices the ability to warp away when the BC is low, right? Which is generally how you get value from these things. You run them in, you Yamato something to kill it, you maybe try to get a couple drones, and then once you're at maybe, you know, a quarter health, you get out of there. So Yamatos go down on the Spire. No more corruptors, but there might be enough out already. Let's see. A little bit of a stutter step here. And that's it. Kyboi, second macro game of the series, second win. So the score is now 2-1 for our Zerg. Interesting builds. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, let's do it. You're welcome. Okay. Kyboi is on match point here. First player to 3 wins wins the best of 5. So let's see what Patches decides to do with their back against the wall. Celestial Enclave is a very interesting map with that pocket base. Alright, yeah, this overlay looks a little more clean, doesn't it? In the bottom left, we have our yellow Zerg. It's Kyboi. And in the top right, the red Terran, it's still Patches. Alright, both playing for Platinum Heroes. Another CTL team. We've gotten a whole variety of games here already in this best of 5. 2-1-1 into Roaches. Then we had a nice proxy 3 racks, get the job done. Last game, Battle Cruisers. Off of essentially a partially successful Roach Rush for Kyboi. This game looking a little more tame so far. But let's see what this SCV throws down. Another barracks. Okay. So probably that heavier Reaper stuff again that we saw Patches throw out last game. Now, Reapers are great when you can get them in enough numbers to, say, one-shot a drone. But, you know, last game they got tied up trying to fight Roaches. Later pooled this game for Kyboi. Seems to be more macro focused, so maybe Patches will actually get to play out their plan here of running these Reapers across the map and getting some damage done. Looks like Kyboi. 2 bases for now. Into those 2 quick queens, same thing we saw. 4 lings. This is looking a lot like the opener from game 1, at least for Kyboi. That natural's going down in the backyard. Very interesting. Usually we see players take this natural, what Kyboi has here. Ooh! Alright, the Reaper goes down, but the grenade that it left behind got the drone. That was pretty sweet. Ling's poking out, just looking for anything else coming across the map. Little early to spot Reapers number 2 and 3, which Patches held back to pool together. Now that Overlord may have very well seen them. It's right on the edge of the vision here. Definitely Kyboi just flashed the camera there now, so knows what's going on. Lings are in position. Now grenades get them away from them and essentially able to snipe a Ling. You're hoping for a little bit more than just the Zergling though in a drone opening this many Reapers. Looks like the magic number was 3. And we're going to go into bio off of this with a 3rd CC. Able to grab another drone. That's very nice. So Patches, despite losing that first Reaper, able to still get a little bit of a positive trade off of the remaining 2. Kyboi's 3rd base is well underway. No Roach War in this game. Gonna be more of a Ling style. And the Speedlings are getting active on the map. Trying to see maybe if they can get some Reapers. Now, Patches may very well lose these, but also getting a little bit of a scout here. A rough idea of what's going on. Back into the main we go. This is annoying. And finally the Reapers are cleaned up. Going back in and grabbing a drone or two there was, I think, some extra value added from Patches, but still, 3 Reapers puts you pretty far behind. We saw the delayed expansion. You know, we see the starport just starting now. That gas had to go somewhere, right? And it's coming at the expense of the tech timing. Now, I'm just checking. Okay, Kyboi did see that third CC with that little Ling poke, so that was nice. And there's the Roach Warren. Significantly later than previous games, and it looks like actually after upgrade start. Kyboi honestly working with a pretty low unit count, adding some more roaches and lings in now, but I think navigated this early game very beautifully, right? Like not overbuilding anything, still staying active with these lings. Now, if they all die here, Kyboi loses a bit of vision for now. So double eBay for the Terran. We're going to really lean into that bio side of play. No 4th base yet for Kyboi. A little bit lower of a worker count, right? Stopped at 54. And is now building some units. Now I wonder if in Kyboi's head they're, Kyboi prepping for some kind of big attack or thinking about getting aggressive themselves. It's single Ling working on the rocks. Might take this guy a little while, but if it's unspotted, who knows? Uh-oh. That's not great. Poor fella. Honestly, Patches might kill those later anyways if they want to take this base. It's always nice to open up another path for speedlings to sneak in, though. +1 armor has completed. Kyboi still on the units. Bunch of roaches. Lings poke their head up. A couple get shaved off. Verifies, yep, you got a 3rd base, and you're building tanks. So I don't think Patches explicitly worked, towards this 2-1-1, but it's now here. Obviously later than normal, after the roach or the Reaper opening, but let's see what it can get done. There's a lot of roaches here again. Ooh, a medevac goes down. For not really a whole lot. Maybe a tumor or 2 killed here, but really this is the weakness of roach openings, right? Is you don't really have anything except the queens that shoot up, and the queens are rather slow. But instead of Patches going for something like a 4th base cancel, stepped on a creep and some problems started. Another quick 4th CC from Patches, macroing up. Upgrades are coming along nicely. Obviously 1-1 done, so already a little bit of an upgrade lead, and with these double eBays it'll grow over time. Man, Kyboi on point with those transfuses, doesn't lose anything, and 4 more Marines get shaved off. You love to see it. The quick hive again, infestation pit complete, infestors on the way, and microbial shroud being researched once again. Now I could just be a lousy caster, but I didn't remember seeing a whole lot of microbial shroud the first game we saw it, so still eager to see what Kyboi does with that upgrade. Medevac finally getting poked enough by the queens that it has to go home. 4th CC is complete. Where are we going with that bad boy? Looks like over here. And there's a whole whack of 1-1 bio. 3 siege tanks. A little light on the medevac count. Only got 2 here. I guess Patches did lose 1 earlier. Alright. Kyboi's getting a little more serious working on these rocks here. We went from 1 lang to 4 roaches. See, making a dent a little faster. Now, Patches scans that. Huge fight. Big fungals for Kyboi, resulting in an awesome trade. Kind of happened at the edge of tank range, too, so they didn't get to shell a whole lot. All of those bruised roaches are going to become some Ravengers. 48 lings on the production tab. And there's that Ultralisk Cavern and Spire, just like our previous macro game here. The positions are very similar to game 1. You know, we have Patches with quick 4 bases, but Kyboi has kind of been allowed to get away with this roach straight into Ultra style once again. Viper's coming out. Kyboi's got a little more gas than they did the first macro game we saw. Able to grab some of those higher value units earlier in the game. Now this would be pretty nice. Patches sees the hatch, but Kyboi sees Patches, so the Lings are already respawning, coming over here. And Patches grabs all but one of those Marines. Gonna work towards the main base. Now, this is exactly what Patches also did in game 1. There was also spores in the base, and the last time this happened, there was a fungal that led to a medevac going down. Okay, past the spores we go, dropping the Marines. The Lings are kind of coming in here a bit staggered, so the Marines will trade well against the Lings and begin working on the drones. At the same time, this is what we wanted in the first game from Patches. The main army actually gets to a base. The push seems to be successful. So far, gets that base kill, and then unfortunately these 2 medevacs do finally get cleaned up here. But creep going down, tanks are moving forward. Supplies are actually fairly even. And Patches has carved out a little bit of the creep and is set up there with the tanks, threatening whatever base this is. Maybe the 6th. So Kyboi has done a great job, you know, ballooning out onto the map. Could maybe even start to get away with considering taking this one. Just this creep spread from Kyboi is a bit ridiculous. Some Lings sneaking in. Now, a lot of them get shaved off before they get to work, but they do find the main mineral line. Back to the Marines, our aggro goes, and not a whole lot done with that. Now, obviously, Kyboi's got some larvae and some resources to throw around, so more than okay losing those for a chance at some big worker kills. Especially with presumably Ling crack speed done. The attack speed upgrade that I still don't remember the name of. Alright, this is attempt number 3 on the rocks. This one I think will actually work. Kyboi chisels a little path. Now, they're focusing on the main engage here, I think correctly so, and there's a lot of tanks here all of a sudden. 6 tanks. We got our medevac count up finally. Now this guy's taking a little bit of the scenic route. Huge fungals again by Kyboi. And Kyboi will be able to take this one 3-1. Got every single unit there with the fungal. Bios came in. Ultras connected. You know, just able to catch the Terran out of tank range once again. And it looks like Kybois are going to be moving on to the upper bracket semis of Div A in this season in SCL. So, thank you all for watching. We wish both of these players good luck. They're, neither are out. Patches drops to the lower bracket here, where they'll likely face, looks like, the winner of Bonsbaum, Havertz, and Chocolat. So, stay tuned. If you're a Patches fan, don't get too worked up yet. Still got a chance. But if you're a Kyboi fan, wow. It seems like you're rooting for the right guy. Kyboi looked super duper strong that series and will play the winner of Beast and Neo. All right. This is Exiled. I'll see you next time. Peace.